I am probably going to be the odd man out on this one with my hot take, but Hoppers did not work for me. I'm getting ready to head into a live stream discussion about Hoppers, among other things, on the Latinos Lands channel. By the time this goes up, that discussion will have already happened. But I already know I'm not going to be in agreement with my fellow film critics on that panel. I saw Hoppers last night, and while there were certainly some enjoyable moments to be had, this film as a whole just did not land for me. And it's because I had some very strong disagreement with the messaging that went on in here. What I read as the messaging of this story, which is terrible to be sending to kids, especially in today's climate with certain people that think they can do whatever because they believe they're on the right side. So in Hoppers, we meet a young girl named Mabel, who has been a lifelong animal rights activist. Ever since she was a kid, she was trying to let the school animals free. She always gets in trouble. She has a very close bond with her grandmother. Her grandmother kind of helps her, I don't want to say appreciate nature more, because Mabel already sort of had that in her, but her grandmother sort of helped her be able to stop, listen, feel the nature around you, be one with the nature around you, kind of calm yourself, whatever. So we get that set up with her before the story begins. And when the story begins present day, Mabel is in college. I think she's 19 years old, and she has been fighting with the mayor. It shows different scenes of these confrontations she's had with the mayor. At one point, she's at the mayor's house, harassing the mayor at his house. I mean, she's like a little terrorist, I swear to goodness. That might be hyperbolic, but nowadays, not really. I feel it's extremely violating to go to someone's house and to harass them because you don't agree with their politics. So that set me off right there. I was like, yeah, that's not cool. And it's played for comedy, but I didn't think it was funny, especially because of some stuff that's been happening within the past few years. People thinking that it's perfectly okay to behave this way. So she ends up finding out about this technology where she basically does an avatar thing. Her mind jumps into the body of this robot animal, and she decides to use this to her advantage. She steals it, for one thing. But the reason she's wanting to do this, and getting back to her whole deal with the mayor, he wants to build a throughway, kind of like a loop, like a belt line around the city, which a lot of cities have. But the problem for her is that this is going to be coming right through an area that's very special to her. I think it's the space that she shared with her grandmother in the prologue scene. And it's called the Glen. And the animals have left the Glen, and they're going to build this throughway. And so she's been campaigning against the mayor. But when she gets hold of this technology, she decides she's going to use it, because she steals it, and she's going to try to get all of the animals to return to the Glen so that the construction project will stop. Along the way, she finds out stuff that the mayor has been up to. Of course, they're going to portray him in one of the worst possible lights they can because he's a politician. He wants to build a freeway. He wants to disrupt nature and all this stuff. Right away, they set up this scenario where you are actively wanting to dislike this guy. He's not portrayed at all in a very nuanced manner, especially in the beginning. In the end, he gets a little bit better because in this story, he's the only one that has a character arc, not Mabel. Not at all. That's part of the problem I have with this movie, too. When she steals this technology and she gets the animals all together to try to return to the Glen, what happens is her actions end up causing extreme chaos within the animal community, and they decide to turn against humans and squish them, which means basically get rid of them, So things spiral beyond her control, and it gets to the point where there is death and major destruction that is getting ready to happen. Major destruction does happen. It's very, very serious. What she has unleashed because of her personal opinion about things, her personal crusade, has caused all of these terrible, terrible things to happen. So that's the basic setup for this story. That was a really long way of getting around to it, but I'm feeling pretty ranty about this movie. Before I get back to my problems with this film, I'll talk about the positives. There are multiple positives. The animation quality, classic Pixar beauty. I mean, I love the facial expressions on the characters, the animals, the way they're animated. The voice acting is very strong, as it always is in a Pixar film. And there were interesting moments with the way that they animated. Like when Mabel is in the body of this robot badger, she perceives the animals as almost more human-like in nature, and they take on completely distinct and different appearances, as opposed to when she's viewing them as a human, they look more like how we see animals, so cute and sweet, their little beady eyes and their cute little faces, that sort of thing. I didn't recognize that was happening until she ends up out of the Hopper technology and she's back in her body. And I was like, wait, why are the animals looking different? And then I realized, and I was like, oh, that's nifty. I did like that part about it. There are also some genuinely funny moments. Well, there was really only one moment that made me laugh out loud, and that's when an accidental death of a particular insect happens. And the way that scene played out, I did laugh out loud. I think that was the only moment where I laughed out loud. Some of the gags and comedy in here didn't fully land with me, even though I could see that it was comedic and there were other people in the audience that thought it was pretty funny. But that particular moment, that was really funny. But getting back to the problems that I had with this film, the messaging, as I've already said, it feels actually kind of insidious to me. Saying that it feels off is putting it mildly. Mabel is acting up because she's angry that no one else seems to care like she does. She feels she's the morally superior one and everybody else just doesn't understand. And because of her actions, as I've already said, it causes this chain of awfulness to happen, and she suffers no real meaningful consequences as a result. You might try to say, well, she does kind of realize that her actions have caused all this chaos. Yeah, but that doesn't mean she's actually faced any meaningful consequences because of what she has done. The mayor is the one who shows growth and compromise, not Mabel. Because in the end, you see this compromise, which really ended up being that Mabel got her way, the mayor gave in to her demands. She still gets what she wants. The surface level messaging of protecting and living in harmony with nature seems very nice, seems positive, but it's that underlying message that disruptive behavior is justified if you believe you're morally right. And she's definitely presented as being morally right in this story. It fails to show any sort of accountability, any sort of actual character growth, character arc. She has none. She is the exact same person at the beginning as she is at the end. Maybe toned down a little bit because she's gotten her way. This film, I just feel that it's got such a destructive element in here that is not the best thing to be drilling into children's minds. And there's already a lot of really bad things that are being drilled into their minds and confusing them and causing all sorts of problems in society. And this just kind of is reaching them at a much younger age. I want to protect the animals, so it's okay for me to harass someone who has different ideas about what should be done for city infrastructure than I do. To me, a compromise would have been building the thoroughfare as planned, but setting up a nature preserve and protecting the animals in the area. Now, if that had been the compromise that was displayed, and yes, I'm spoiling it for you because I don't really care, but if that had been the compromise that was displayed, this film would have gone way on up there for me. But because it wasn't, and because she learned pretty much zero from what she had done, this film plummeted. On CriticList, I couldn't give it a rad rating. A rad rating on CriticList is 60% and up. I couldn't give it rad because I don't feel that it deserves a rating as high as that. I gave it just under. I gave it 59%, which is in the bogus territory because I felt that this story fundamentally was bogus. Despite being entertaining in moments, despite the strong visuals and some of the humor, I felt that the lack of character arc for the main character and the toxic messaging undermined the story. And that's why I just could not go any higher. Maybe later I'll downgrade it even more. I have no desire to rewatch this film. And it's very possible that as time goes on, my feelings about it will get even more intense. Don't know. We'll see. There is a mid-credit scene, I think, and a post-credit scene, but I felt that sticking around for those, especially for the scene all the way at the end of the film, was a huge waste of my time. You might get more out of it than I did, but maybe it's just also because I was kind of annoyed with the film already, so that didn't help. All right, that's all I have to say for now about Hoppers. It is in theaters now. If you guys get around to watching it, let me know how it landed for you. I already know I'm gonna be the odd man out on this particular one, but it is what it is. All right, that's it for this one, you guys. Nos vemos.